YouTube.
Hey YouTube friends and family, it's your boy GB Reviews, and today I have a special video for you. We're going to be doing a discussion with 4 MIT students. They're going to talk about their time at school, kind of before everything happened with the coronavirus, and they're going to be looking at how things have changed after they've come back home. So we'll talk a little bit about what it was like in 2019, being freshmen, class of 2023, and then now going back as students in the fall of 2020, their second year, and what that may look like. So share, like this video. I think that it might be useful for students who are upcoming freshmen moving into colleges or going to colleges, I should say. I'm not sure if they're going to be moving yet, and what they need to expect, and maybe some things that they may have to do differently with this new digital divide. So with that, let's transition into the discussion. I hope you like it. Please leave some comments below, and thank you for watching. My name is Gary Barrett. My YouTube name is GB Reviews, so you'll see on my channel it'll be like GB Reviews Everything. I do review everything, but really lately, since we've been in this quarantine space, I've been doing more cooking stuff. So if you look at my channel right now, I used to do cars and motorcycles and things like that. Now I'm actually cooking different things. And as we talked about earlier, drinking almond milk and just living a healthier lifestyle. And that's been one of the things that I could say has been a real big change for me in terms of the quarantine lifestyle. Coronavirus has affected me personally in the sense that my children are home from school, and I'm not going to the office every day. And I think that for an adult, we don't really think about it. We're like, whatever, we just roll with that. But for a person who's a student who's kind of forging into their new life, I think it's a unique opportunity for us to talk with you guys to find out exactly how you feel about that. You got your wings, and then your wings were clipped in a way because you had to move back home. And so first off, let me say thank you for joining us today. And then if I can, and I'll just start because on my screen it starts with Victoria, and then we'll work our way around. So I will start with Victoria, but can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you're from, and then we'll move into the next question. So we'll start with Victoria, then we'll go Emma, Diane, and Gabriel.
Okay. Hi, I'm Victoria. My whole family is Polish, but I was born and raised in California, and I'm thinking about majoring in bioengineering.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma. I'm currently living in Los Angeles, California, but my whole family is from northern France, so that's where I was born and raised, and I moved to the US in 2012, and I'm currently thinking of majoring in computer science and neuroscience.
Hi, I'm Diane. I currently live in Evanston, Illinois, which is near Chicago. But my whole family and me are from El Salvador, a country in Central America, and I moved to the U.S. when I was around 3 years old, and I'm thinking of majoring in computer science.
And I'm Gabriel. My dad's side of the family is from Georgia, and my mom's side of the family is from the Philippines. And I'm currently back in Arlington, Virginia, and I'm studying urban planning and computer science.
Well, thank you guys very much. It's good to talk to you guys to kind of, like I said, get your perspective. One of the things I want to know, like, what was your experience like going, and you guys can talk at any time you want, what was your experience like going to school, going to MIT, and was it what you expected when you got there? So think back to fall 2019.
I guess for me personally, MIT was different than I expected. And this is partially from like the accepted students meeting we had in April. I'd come in thinking everyone at MIT is going to be like super nerdy or whatever, super involved in like sciences or engineering and stuff. And then going to MIT the first time in April, and then again back in the fall, kind of like broke my like preconceived notion of MIT kids all being nerdy and all like being focused on school. Like, yeah, we are focused on school, but they have fun occasionally, so it's nice. And it's different. So
Yeah, I was surprised at just like how well I felt that I fit in, and like how many people kind of seemed like they had a lot in common with me.
Oh, excellent.
I don't want to speak for Emma, but no. You go first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I definitely agree with Gabe, just because like I guess myself and I guess all of my friends from high school thought, MIT is like this big like STEM school. But you'd be surprised that like I think I couldn't give you like the percentage of people that are involved in the arts, but it's huge. Like so many people are interested in like music and like art and painting and drawing and theater, and it's just crazy to think that it's a really like it's an eclectic community, I would say. And like for me, MIT was just a huge change because I went to like a tiny high school. It was like 42 people.
Oh,
So going into like a 1,000 and like MIT is it's a small university, right? But for me it was still like a huge change.
that's amazing. Emma? I mean, not Emma. Diane?
Yeah, so I feel like it was kind of different for Emma and I because we applied, or Emma applied to MIT more through QuestBridge than me. But through QuestBridge, which Emma can talk more about because we met a lot of MIT students and we were like in this huge group chat together before we even got to campus during CPW. So we knew all like this whole group of people. We knew that we were going to hang out with them during CPW and we knew we were going to be friends with them all throughout like our time there at MIT. So it was different going in. I knew what kind of like what to expect, or like I felt like I fit in more, if that makes sense.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
So Emma, since she put you on the spot, can you tell us about QuestBridge? Because I personally have no idea what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So QuizBridge is like so it's somewhat like a scholarship organization for like low income and first generation students. So they have like multiple programs, and one of them is like for juniors, which is called the College Prep Scholars. And I think Diane, you also applied to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one is just like, so you apply in spring of your junior year, and basically what happens if you're selected as a scholar, they just like prepare you for a lot of college things. So you're invited to conferences. I went to a conference at Stanford University, so like in June of my junior year. And then they also offer like to a couple of people like scholarships to go to summer programs and things like that. And then senior year, which is their big scholarship thing, it's called the National College Match. So what you can do is you can apply. They have like 40 college partners, I think, and you can apply to those college partners. And if you're like selected as a scholar, like in the final round, you basically get like a full tuition scholarship for the 4 years that you're at the college. It's pretty great.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I will make sure that I drop that link in the description below. So QuestBridge. That's
Yeah.
excellent. And then, so what did you guys, okay, so you guys went to MIT, because for me, like my expectation at MIT is not what you guys explained. I would think that it's a school with people like working in nuclear reactors and building things all the time. And so it is, it's interesting. And I think people will find that MIT is not what people expect. I think MIT did get a lot of notoriety because Tony Stark from the Marvel movies was from MIT, and people are like, "Wow, MIT, yeah, Iron Man." So that's kind of cool. So looking at your first semester and having been surprised about the things that you were able to accomplish, the student organizations and things like that that you were able to become a part of, what surprised you the most when you were there? Like you got there, maybe it wasn't as big as you thought, but what surprised you the most?
I think that, at least for me, I was expecting it to be insanely hard. And so it actually wasn't like as bad as I thought it was gonna be, although that might be partly because I like specifically planned out like my schedule of classes and everything to like kind of make sure that I was gonna ease into it because I was afraid of it being so hard. But it ended up being like a lot more manageable than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with Victoria. Oh,
No, you go.
no, I agree. Like, it wasn't like way easier than I thought it was going to be, but it was like probably on par. I didn't think it was going to be, I mean, I knew it was going to be hard, but it was about on par. It wasn't like extremely challenging to where like I didn't have time to do anything else but study. And part of that is also because MIT does the P&R thing in the first half of the semester where freshmen are all on pass-fail, and if you fail, it's just not recorded at all.
Oh, sorry, Gabriel, what does PNR stand for?
Yeah, P&R stands for pass, no record.
Oh.
So you pass or there's no record of you taking the class at all. So it kind of takes pressure off a freshman in the first semester and lets them ease into things. Obviously, that makes it so freshmen kind of fall into like this false sense of security, and then second semester they actually have grades. But that ended up not mattering either for other reasons. So
Yeah, I think for me, the big difficulty of first semester was mostly about getting used to how MIT works, how classes work, and just like being able to structure and find like a good, work-life balance. Just because, as Gabe said, you've got PNR, so like MIT doesn't want you to focus as much on grades as much as, just being able to understand how MIT works, finding, study groups and, resources and all that. So I think that was probably like the biggest difficulty of first semester for me.
So for me, coming into MIT, I kind of suffered through imposter syndrome a lot. I felt like I really didn't belong there, and I was afraid to ask questions, and I still kind of am, but I think every single student feels that at some point during their first semester. So you kind of get to know people, and you get to know what they're going through, and you see that they're going through what you're going through, so you feel more comfortable asking questions. You get comfortable like asking questions for TAs, and they're there to help you, so it's pretty manageable.
That's excellent. Now, taking all of what you guys said into account, what was it like being an adult for the first time? And I say it not in a condescending way, but more so in a way that you manage your own time, you manage your own food schedules. I can tell you from parent blogs, parents still don't think of you guys as adults. They talk about all kind of weird stuff, but we know that you guys are running your own lives and you're doing your own thing. So what was that like?
So much more freedom. Yeah, like just so much more freedom to, as you said, like just structure your own day, do like everything you want. Because, when you're home in high school, like my day was pretty much, wake up, go to school, get back home, do your homework, I guess like activities, all that, and then go to sleep, and then just redo that again the next day. And then on weekends, like activities, work. I think that was probably all of our high school experience. So I guess I don't want to generalize, but at least for me, that's what it was. And then you get to MIT, and you've still got the whole like, do your work, do your PSATs, go to class, participate in activities. But now, like, you just got the freedom to just do whatever you want. Like, you could have a class at 11 a.m., have a big hole, and be like, all right, so this is where I'm gonna go and build something in one of their Maker Lodge. And then, like, after class, you're done. You get dinner with all your friends. That's what we would do. Like, 5, 6 p.m., we would just all get dinner, be like, hey, everyone, you guys want to go to the dining hall? And then I think it was really nice just to have that freedom to be able to just like structure your day and do everything that you've wanted to do.
Yeah, what I've noticed, especially since coming home, is that like at MIT, my days were structured like a lot more freely than they are at home, where like every day is kind of the same, like, wake up around the same time, eat around the same times. But there's kind of like, if I didn't feel like doing something at some point, I could like change my schedule and kind of have that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, like I never had strict parents, obviously, but I agree with Victoria that things were more structured in high school, and it's definitely different being in college because one, you don't have like all your classes every day. So I had days in freshman year where I had 2 hours of classes, or actually I had days on Friday I had 1 hour of class, and that was it. So, and then the rest of that I kind of like did whatever I want. And then same with like just everything else, that like responsibilities. Like I'd done laundry at home, but it felt different doing it at MIT or at my dorm, I guess. Even though like I had to pay for it for one, that's different. But just like having to do it on my own and knowing like when I had to do it is different. And cooking for myself, I lived in a dorm where like they had kitchens, so cooking for myself was different, especially when I was back in January, which when I wasn't on a meal plan. So I was cooking every day, which is different than I normally did. So that gave you a new like sense of responsibility being in college.
I have to agree with that. If I wasn't on a dining plan, I don't think I would have eaten at all for semester. So I'm glad I was on the dining hall, on the dining plan. But it's weird just because in high school and like now, I never really learned how to drive. I don't have a license. So my day was structured around like, my mom drove me to school. I stayed in school. I went to any clubs that I had to go to, and then I like texted her that I needed to be picked up, and then I went home. So in college, I would wake up whenever I wanted to. Well, not whenever I wanted to, but when I had to go to class. And it like I could go around. The campus was so small that I could go around wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I didn't have to like text my mom and be like, "Hey, could you take me to so and so's house or to Starbucks or something?"
So that's great. And so I guess this gets us to one last question about the first half of the year, because we're thinking about the bright, happy times. What was your favorite extracurricular activity?
I guess for me personally, I did really enjoy doing our radio show, which
Yeah.
had me and Victoria and a couple of other friends, and we just talked every other week about stuff that went on in school. So it was a fun thing to do, just on the side, I guess.
Yeah, that was also probably my favorite part of it as well. It was just like an hour of conversation.
So
Yeah.
for me, I am currently at in MIT's SHIP chapter, which stands for Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And I joined SHIP when I was in high school, their junior chapter, and that consisted mostly of preparing for the Science Bowl at the end of the year. But in college, it's different. So there's still weekly meetings, but it's more about like working on your resume, preparing for interviews with companies, going to like the national conference for SHIP, where you have this huge career fair with a bunch of companies. So I think that was definitely my favorite extracurricular activity that I did this year. And I was in the executive board as well as a social media representative. So I spent a lot of time with them, kind of bonding with them and meeting a lot of cool people and preparing for my career.
Yeah, I would say my favorite extracurriculars was working in the maker lodges. So I don't know if you're familiar with the maker lodges, but MIT just basically has a bunch of like workshops where students can just go and use whatever tools and build whatever they want. And they're open like 24/7. So you can just go there at any time of the day and be like, all right, well, I have a project like electronics for mechanical engineering, and then just do it. And I was a mentor for one of the maker lodges, so which was like right above like the big dome, which was really cool. And I would go there like on Fridays because those were the time where I had to go for like 2 hours and help everyone. And then I would just be able to participate in that and just do my own things, which was really cool. So yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So transitioning from that happy time to the kind of the very uncertain time. I won't say it's unhappy because sometimes it's good to be in a different space. How did MIT? Oh no, let me ask you a question. When you first heard about coronavirus, when you were at school, one, did you guys take it seriously? Did the school take it seriously? And did you think it would affect your school, Boston, the world in the way it has?
Absolutely not. We first started really like hearing about it, I would say like January, because I just remember talking about it with, a couple friends. And for now, it was still like in Wuhan, right? And like for one, I did not think it was going to get as bad. I thought it would be more, like in Ebola or Zika situation where you still had like a few cases in the US, but it didn't get bad. So that's what I was expecting, if I'm being honest. Then, it completely unraveled and up to like now. But I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, I actually remember on our podcast,
Exposing me. All right, yeah.
we did talk about like coronavirus early on and like how we didn't really think it was that big of a deal. So
Yeah, I remember talking about I think back in February they put up hand sanitizer stuff all around and signs, and this is before it got really big in the US, or even outside of China, really, before anything got big. And I thought one, it might have been overreaction, but I also thought in the back of my mind, maybe these overreactions are what's preventing diseases from spreading so far. But clearly the reaction wasn't big enough. And that's obviously not an MIT thing. That's a more global, like societal thing. Like, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be as big as it was. So it was definitely shocking when it did end up getting or snowballing on itself and got really big in Boston.
Yeah, I remember thinking about it before, but then that moment when President Rife sent out the email saying that we'd have to go home in the next week, I remember just freaking out, calling my parents and be like, I have to buy a ticket now. I had to start planning. Like we had a midterm coming up in like 2 days, but that ended up being postponed. And we were just like, I can't do homework right now. I'm worrying about how I'm going to pack my things, how I'm going to get home, how I'm going to ship my things. It was pretty crazy last week.
And like right before the email was sent out, there were rumors going around about like our school getting canceled and everyone being sent home. And I was like, there's no way this is real. And then it was.
Yeah, I mean, Harvard did it right before us.
Yeah. Because rumors like they're going to cancel school like a week after spring break and just keep everyone in their dorms so like they can isolate things. And then we heard Harvard was doing something like that. And then eventually like, oh, we're going to cancel school after a week before spring break, and we're going to make you guys go home on Tuesday. And then come Friday, like, actually, you guys have to leave by Sunday now. And this is all like just started getting faster and faster. And it's kind of crazy to keep up with.
I remember like when like the email was sent, like I was in office hours for my computer science class, and I read the email and like everyone saw it. So I was like in a small classroom with a bunch of other people, and like everyone started freaking out and being like, wait, what are we going to do? Because I remember there were some international students in the room that were like, I don't know where I'm going to go. Just everyone was shocked. But I remember there was a senior that I was talking to, and she was crying because she was like, well, like in a few days I'm never going to see some people again. And it was a rough time.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's very interesting, right? Because I think in many ways MIT and Harvard in that Boston corridor that you guys have in Cambridge really sparked the wave of schools responding, right? So I think MIT was the first school that really put it out that they were going to limit the size of classes and they weren't going to have people come on campus. And then I think Harvard had to one up you guys by closing school before you. I think that's why they did that. But you guys were really on the leading edge of getting schools to really take it seriously and then eventually closing down. And I think what a lot of people in the US couldn't feel like it's good to hear you guys talk about it because I don't think we felt the emotion of it. Oh yeah, your kids are coming home. Yes, students are leaving. Schools are closing. One of the things that I found shocking on one of my friends who's a therapist was talking about one of her students who she's a therapist for was a senior in high school, and said if they would have known that last day that they were in school would have been the last time they were going to see some of their friends, they would have taken that day more seriously. Instead, they were just thinking, oh, we don't want to go to school that day, right? And so I think people aren't really fully aware of those impacts in the long term. It's almost like post-traumatic stress, right? Like if you're a senior, you never get to see your friends again. That'd be crazy. Tell me about a little bit more about the emotion that you guys felt when you knew you were going home. You got your ticket, Diane, but now you're like, wait, my roommate, I'm not going to see her again. Like, what's going on? So can you guys talk a little bit about that? Because that part, I think, is what people really they can't connect with.
So when he sent out that email, I was working on a piece set with my friend Fred. And at that point, we're just like, why are we still doing homework? Like, we should go to dinner with everybody else. Like, we weren't going to go to dinner. We were just going to try and finish the piece set. But we were like, this is probably the last time we're going to have a dinner with everybody together. Because we also heard that our friend Peyton was leaving like that night. So we went to dinner and it was just really emotional seeing everybody there. I didn't cry, but I was close to.
Yeah, I don't think like the weight of it. I don't think the weight of it hit me just even that whole week that we were last week in school. I mean, I knew we weren't coming back. I knew the semester was over, and we're fortunate enough to like they told us that the semester was ending. Like when they said leave, like you're leaving for good. Some schools were on spring break, right? So their kids didn't even get to say goodbye to each other. They were on spring break, and then their school was just canceled, or whatever. And then same with high school. High school was canceled for like a month, and then they extended for the whole semester. So the high school seniors didn't know that they weren't going to return. But for me personally, I mean, yeah, like Diane said, we went to dinner that day they announced stuff. But it didn't even hit me like how long 6 months is or 9 months, depending on how long we're back here, and just all of it and not being able to see anyone. Because like, I never dislike being at home. I mean, obviously I like being in college, but I didn't mind being at home, but I think it even took me a month of being back home to realize how much just really is boring at home, not having anything to do, and not being able to see your friends. It didn't hit me till a lot later, basically.
Yeah, I have to agree, like, completely. And I also didn't realize how much I, like, relied on daily social contact. That was just, like we just took it for granted. We just saw each other, like, every day, just whenever we wanted to. And all of a sudden, we're just, like, alone.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I agree with Gabe that I didn't realize the weight of it. Like, I remember, like, these last few days, I kept telling, like, you and Diane, like, I don't want to pack yet because when I start packing, it means it's real. I just kept telling myself that. So I waited until, like, I think Saturday evening to start packing, and I was leaving the day after, and I was like, I don't want to pack because when I do, then this is it. We're done. Like, Diane's my roommate, and it just felt really weird seeing the room getting emptied out and just cleaning everything away. And, you know, I didn't cry at that time, but it was just a really emotional period. Just saying like that's the end of our freshman year, you know?
Go ahead, Gabriel. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, and going back to what Victoria said, like, you definitely take social interaction for granted because, like, we really have all this stuff. Like, obviously, we have Zoom right now. We can talk to people. We can talk to people over the phone and stuff. But it's different being in the situation where you will talk to them every day. Like I would see like Diane and Victoria every day at dinner or whatever, and we'd interact all the time. And even like my roommate Lucian, I used to talk to him every day because we lived together. And now I could count on my hands how many times I've talked to him since school ended. So it's definitely different. And even the passing interactions, like seeing people in the hallway, seeing people in your classes that you might wave to in the hallway, like those aren't people who I'd even like consider reaching out to normally. Cause like, you know, they're just like casual people I just wave to. So it's different. Like you don't have those casual interactions anymore. You don't run into people in the hallway just to say hi or something. So it's definitely different.
And even like kind of sitting in the same room as other people, even if you're not really like doing anything or talking about anything, but just kind of all working together or something like that. Like you don't really get that over Zoom because you don't get to be just in their presence.
Yeah, no, that's, I think that is probably one of the things that people who didn't go away to college, like the experiences you guys are talking about, I think sometimes people who don't go away to college, who live at home and go to their local colleges, they don't understand that part of college. It's the part that you don't learn in class or that you're not getting in class and that you're not really paying for, but you're paying for it because you get that, right? That interaction of sitting up at night and speaking to your friends until like 3 o'clock in the morning about something silly, but it seems so important at the time when you're talking about it. I think that's, again, what, at least you guys were fortunate. I think the class of 2023 was fortunate because you got to experience that for, was it 6 months, 7 months that you got to do that? 6 months.
Sure.
So it was a little bit more than half a year, a little bit more, sort of. And so you got to at least understand what that feels like. So speaking about that, you guys talked about the makerspace. How has transitioning back home been? Doing school remotely? Like, have your classes been asynchronous classes? Have they been, live classes? What has that been like? And what has been the most challenging part about that?
So most of my classes were synchronous except for one Spanish class that Gabe and I were in actually. I actually really liked that class just because I feel like it gave me sort of a structure in my day. I was like, oh, this is the day where I have my Spanish class and I'm going to see, my classmates and my professor. I thought I really liked that. And for the rest of my classes, I was just like, well, I've got a lecture to watch. When am I going to watch it? It was just really hard just structuring my day. I feel like it was definitely so difficult just finding the motivation to want to watch lectures and do my P sets.
I feel like some classes changed a lot. Like my linear algebra class with Emma and Gabe, that he ended up completely eliminating the final and changing the 2 midterms that we had left to do into like these like extended homeworks. So in the end, all you had to do was watch like a bunch of lectures that weren't even him. Like you could go on YouTube and watch this other professor's lectures. They were much better too. You could watch those lectures and then do the homework for like 3 hours maybe, and that was it. And then there were classes like my physics class where I used to go to that class for 2 hours twice a week and then 1 hour on Fridays. But now they changed it to these sequences that weren't even like there weren't any live lectures. You could there was just a bunch of videos and questions that they put up. There were 4 of them, and they would each take like an hour and a half to complete. So it's just a lot more work. And they still had like the weekly P set, the weekly Friday problem solving, and they still had quizzes and the final. So that just became a lot. And then the one class that I feel like was the most different for me was my photo class, because my project for that class was supposed to be in the darkroom at school. Like I was supposed to be in the darkroom working with the pictures that I took, but it ended up being like a project on Photoshop that wasn't at all like what I wanted to do, but I had to do something.
Well, before we go on to the next person, but how did you, so for like a project on Photoshop, how would you do that? Like, did the school supply you with Photoshop? Like, how is the school helping to facilitate your transition then, I guess I would say?
Yeah, so I think throughout this whole thing, there were a bunch of companies giving out like free trials or like, you can have access to this course for free while you're in quarantine. And then, so MIT, what they did for my photo class was that they gave us Photoshop for free for a month to complete our projects. That was really nice of them.
I would say overall, like all of my classes pretty much ramped down the workload. They like got rid of exams or they made them shorter and like homework and everything. So it ended up being a lot of free time. And then it was really hard to kind of, like at MIT, I kind of felt like I could almost be constantly working. And in a way that was kind of easier for me than it was at home when I had like so much free time. And then all of a sudden I had to switch out of like free time mode to work mode and do some work that's like due in a long time.
Yeah, I agree with Victoria. The work definitely ramped down a lot after we got back, at least for me personally. And like Diane said, our algebra class eliminated exams, and that class was just really easy. We can watch the lectures and watch them at 2 times speed, so they go twice as fast. And in that class specifically too, like I do not know linear algebra, so I'm hoping it's not that useful in the future because it's still, so we got put on pass fail after we got back. Everyone was for it, and like I know other schools gave options, but we were like forced pass fail. So the grade pressure kind of went away also.
So the seniors, the juniors, everyone's pass fail.
Yeah, the whole school's pass fail. So that took some pressure off, and then a lot of the workload ramped down. I was in that Spanish class with Emma, and that was probably the most regular class I had. It was the only synchronous class I had, where we just go like on Zoom calls twice a week and talk to people, which was nice. It gave like a nice sense of like normalcy or something, like community. That was the only thing I was structured. Everything else I just did like kind of whenever I felt like it. And I was worried coming into it at first, like, ooh, how am I going to find a motivation now that nothing's like ordered, there's no schedule. But it ended up not being as big a problem as I thought it was going to be. I just ended up doing whatever I wanted to do when it came to it, and then just working on it and getting it done.
So based on what you guys were telling me about how the first semester went, and you guys did a lot of collaborations, working on P sets, being together, how does that work when you're at home? How do you collaborate?
Yeah, it usually doesn't. I don't know, I guess, at least for me personally, we used to, like Diane and I and a couple of other friends used to work on our programming class together. We used to work on that all the time. But when I came home, I ended up doing most of those assignments on my own, and just like at the end, maybe just like comparing stuff and seeing like troubleshooting and stuff like that. And then same with like algebra work. We used to do it all together. Now we just mostly, or I don't know, I think Diane and Emma did it together still, but I did it mostly on my own and just compared answers at the ends. So it's definitely a lot, even though there are tools we could use to work together, there's less like, you feel less motivated to work with other people, if that makes sense. And especially because like everyone's in different time zones, so you have to coordinate a call and all that. So it just happens less collaboration.
Yeah, for linear algebra class, like before, when we were still on campus, like Diane and our friend Fred and I would all work on the P sets together, and we actually were able to keep that up in quarantine. So we'd like just set up a Zoom meeting, and we'd be like, all right, let's get this P set done, and we would just like work on it together. So that was, honestly, that was a highlight. Oh yeah, but it was definitely a highlight of the linear algebra class because we're still able to just like work all together and figure things out as we went through the P sets. So that was really nice.
Looking at your setup, school's over, you made it through this semester, you were only giving, pass, fail grades, but hopefully all pass. What were some of the benefits that you found not being on campus or working remotely, if there are any?
Well, I would say one thing outside of the whole like academic aspect is the fact that I was just able to focus on things that I've been meaning to do for a while. Like I was telling you earlier, just, like being able to go and work out and like prepare my own food, just because I love the dining halls, but I also love cooking, and I really didn't have the opportunity to do that too much on campus. So just a lot of things that I could do, because as Victoria said earlier, we had so much free time, even like with all the P sets and everything else that we had to do.
Yeah, I personally like feel that I've been putting my mental health first a lot more since I have so much free time, and I can just like dedicate as much time as I need to like making sure that I'm kind of staying sane, as opposed to at MIT sometimes you got to put that second if you're like in a time crunch.
I'll say like, I don't know if I'm doing any of that personal development stuff. I feel like the only benefit I've had so far is that academics have been easier, because like I said, the classes are less workload and stuff. But when it comes to like personal stuff, I think I went to the gym a lot more. Well, I can't go to the gym now, so it'd be me running. But like I worked out more at MIT, just like in the mornings and stuff. I don't know. And other than that, like I haven't been doing much for like personal development. I've been trying to read. That never happens.
Yeah, I feel like I love to read.
You pause a little bit.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I guess the one thing that I really miss is just being with my friends, even if we're not doing anything, even if we're just like sitting together doing our P sets. I really miss that just because being at home, I see my brothers and my family and I love them, but I really miss my friends.
Now, along that same vein, so looking at the way that this semester ended and the fact that the classes were maybe not as challenging or challenging in different ways, how do you think it'll affect you? Like, say if school goes back and starts in the fall, do you think you'll be prepared for sophomore year at MIT at the pace that it was at, that it should be at normally?
I do feel like I would be prepared, just mostly because our first year is about, completing general education requirements. But like next fall, I'm starting on my major requirements, so they're like completely new classes that aren't really based on anything I saw first semester. I do think that I know enough like from the classes I took this semester to like go beyond.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
guess.
know. No, go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say
oh,
what?
okay.
I was gonna say I agree with Emma. I feel like I'd be one. I don't think like if they ramp up MIT again and like everyone fails, then they're doing something wrong. So I feel like we will be able to like transition back in to whatever it is, because like I think if we do go back in the fall, it's not going to be the same. Like things are going to be different in the fall. They're going to do classes differently, whether that's like canceling all classes over 100 people or whatever. So, but I think in general, like I feel like we're going to be prepared for the classes.
And I think a lot of people are like spending their summer doing something, and at least when we like transition back, it's going to be kind of like, I think professors are going to be kind of lenient and like let people catch up. So I don't think that the transition should be too hard if we were to go back in the fall.
Well, taking that, your last statement, what do you guys think of the probability, since you guys are STEM students, what do you think the probabilities are that you will go back to class, that you will actually be physically back in Boston in the fall? All right, let's make it easier than that. On a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is not likely and 5 is very likely, where do you think? So let's start with Victoria. What do you think?
Maybe like a 2, but I really don't know.
Emma?
Yeah, honestly, the same, 2 or 3.
Diane?
2 for sure. Like I really don't think we're going to be back in the fall.
Gabriel?
That's funny. If you had asked me a week ago, I would have said 1. But like now, I feel like with all that's happening right now, and like with states reopening and stuff, I feel like we're going to get to the point where we're not even going to be past, like it's not going to peak again, because we're just going to stay on the first wave, and maybe get to the point where just everyone gets sick, and then by the fall, people are just immune. So I don't know. I'll say 2.
No, that makes sense. Well, thinking of that, it may be a 2 and that you guys will not be back in the fall. What do you think? So now we're transitioning to people who will be the class of 2024. What do you think what advice would you have for the class of 2024 folks going to school remotely, right? Would you tell them to take a gap year? Would you tell them, oh, it's going to be okay? This is MIT. Because you guys talked about so many interesting things that you did on campus, and they don't get that experience, or they would maybe not get that experience. What do you think about that? Now you're talking to the class 2024 now.
Right. So I'm actually an orientation leader for the class of 2024. And like that's one of our like biggest issues, just being able to, welcome the new students to campus, whether we're back in the fall or if we're online. I think, one of the biggest issues that we're talking about is like students being able to actually like meet new people and meet their classmates and actually create friendships, because when you're on campus, and they didn't even get, the campus preview weekend and MIT like made some sort of virtual CPW, but that's obviously not as effective as the one that we had. So I think like one of the huge issues is going to be able to actually meet people. So we're thinking about different ways to do that, and through orientation especially.
And I guess along that same vein, so what do you guys think about that? Like for class of 2024, freshmen coming in virtually, should they take a gap year? Should they go to school?
I mean,
think
I know a lot of
last-
schools. Oh, there you
No, sorry, you go.
go. Okay. I know a lot of schools are not doing deferments this year because it'll like mess up their stuff for next year because they don't want like a huge influx of students next year. Obviously, part of the issue with like taking gap year now is like you can't do all the stereotypical gap year stuff because you're gonna be stuck at home anyway. So I mean, I could see deferring, especially now. It's easier to defer as a freshman because this part is like a pressure if you're deferring later on because like you won't graduate with your friends. If you're like a freshman, you just take a year off. So deferring as a freshman means you don't have any friends to lose, I guess. But I don't really know. It's like it's definitely different going in, especially going in knowing it's gonna be online as opposed to like being there and just going home. So I'm not really sure what advice to give. And obviously they're gonna have some experience because they've already been sent home once.
They know it's going to be virtual. They don't defer. What would you say that you think their experience having a virtual orientation, not having the campus preview weekend, not having the parents weekend, not having the move-in? Do you think the value of MIT, and again, or I shouldn't say MIT, the value of colleges in general, let's not limit it to MIT because I think it's all colleges. Do you think the value is the same? So should tuitions be the same?
Yeah, I feel like the online version is barely college. Like it's barely the college experience. And I don't know if it's really, like, I don't want to say that it's not worth it, but I don't know if it's really like, because you're missing out on, I think, a lot more than you're getting.
We're focusing on
also-
MIT. I know, sorry. But MIT has a lot of the classes that we're taking freshman year online for free. So we're paying all this money for classes that we could have taken for free. It's just like I think that's one of the issues that like I've been seeing on like MIT confessions, students saying take a year off, like you're paying all this money for something that you could just do on your own for free if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think and a big part of college is, and as we talked about before, is like the people you meet, especially for a school like MIT, where like you meet all these crazy smart people and doing all these crazy things. Because you could go to any school and like linear algebra is gonna be the same regardless of where you go. Right? All this stuff is gonna be the same regardless of where you go. But you go to schools like MIT or in any college in general, it doesn't have to be MIT, but it's for the people you get to meet there, the professors you get to meet, and all the stuff, the relationships you build. And you just don't have that online. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who says the value of college online is the same exact thing as the value in person. Obviously, the tuition argument is harder because a lot of schools, not MIT, but like a lot of schools depend on their tuition. And that goes into a whole other argument on like what tuition should be for in general. But it's definitely a lower value online than in person.
And so thinking about the experiences that you guys have, if I'm the class of 2024, you guys are talking to me about school, how would you suggest I build that community? Like you guys are close. I mean, I'm glad that you guys did this interview with me. You guys are close-knit friends to, ride or die, right? But how do you build that in a virtual sense? And I know, Emma, you guys are working on that, but how do you build that? Like, there's something about moving into a dorm or having a roommate. Like, do you have a virtual roommate that you have to like check in with every day? I mean, like, how does that work? So you guys I'm the class of 2024. Tell me how that works or how you think it could work.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think it can. I don't think you can build the same relationship with someone by not being with them. Because sure, you can set up all the Zoom calls you want. You could have a daily call every day with the same person, but it's hard to keep up a relationship like that. You don't have things to talk about because you're not doing stuff together, and it's hard to build stuff like that. It's hard to build a sense of community, right? you don't have dorms you stay in, you don't have like halls or anything. Even in the classes, even if you go to class with people, right? You're in a Zoom call, you're not gonna talk to the person next to you on the call and stuff like that. So it's definitely it's challenging. It's gonna be challenging to build any sense of community like that.
So going back to Quest Bridge, because of that, we were able to build this big group chat before school even started, before even CPW. So it was different for Emma and I think, because we grew really close through text, through Snapchat, through FaceTime, even before we got to campus and like we're roommates together. So I think it's possible to build some sort of relationship with people from MIT through like group chats and through Zoom and everything, but it won't be the same as like once we were on campus and once I was with Emma every single day, we grew even closer, and I got to like see her through different situations that I wouldn't have seen her if it was just through group chats.
I definitely agree. Just going back to the Quizbridge thing, as you mentioned, like our group chat was huge, and honestly, I just felt super close to everyone that was in that chat. And when we actually met them, like in real life, when I met Diane, like in real life at campus preview weekend, like everyone was just so excited to see each other, and like we were really close during that weekend, right? But once we actually got to campus in the fall, like everyone's still like very close friends, and we talk from time to time. But we kind of grew apart, and like Diane and I are still super close, and like she's my best friend. But yeah, so I do think it's possible to create those links like online, but it won't be the same once you get to campus.
You have to be a very specific type of person to build that type of relationship online. Like you have to spend a lot of time on your phone and on your computer. And if you're not one of those persons to start off, then you're just not going to be able to build those relationships. So so like a lot of our friends don't spend a lot of time on their phone, so we don't get to talk to them a lot. Like that rare time that they're on their Snapchat, we talk to them, but then otherwise we don't really see them.
Yeah, and with like everything being online, every social interaction is like intentional. Like you don't have a roommate that you just see every day, or like people that you see in passing, and so you like actually have to make an effort and set up a time to call people or like respond to their text or whatever. So it's like a lot harder to actually have enough interactions with people to like really connect with them.
I mean, that makes sense. And I was asking Gabriel offline before, like, how do they recruit for fraternities and sororities or clubs? I mean, like, how do you do those things online without really knowing the people? Because you could get members of your club that aren't really that you. I mean, like a lot of these things are just because you personally gel with people. So I think that's going to be challenging. But I guess you guys as the class of 2023 will help steward them through that process. I'm confident that at some point we'll get back to normal, and you guys will be back on campus. Hopefully, hopefully this does not persist until 2023, because then crazy. You might have to do the MIT thing over again. But thank you guys. I don't want to hold you guys longer than an hour. I thank you so much. And maybe if you guys are willing, we can do this again sometime toward the end of the summer, because it'd be nice to see. I did a video series I did a kind of a video to myself 10 days in the future, and I was so wrong about a lot of the things that I had guessed. And so it would be interesting if we could speak again toward the end of the summer, if you guys are okay with that. I really appreciate it. And I think, I'm glad that you guys have given me a unique perspective. One, I think as a parent, as a person who is a person in the workforce in this space, person who's part of an alumni association in this space, like, you guys are the best and the brightest, and I'm glad that you are weathering the storm in the way that you guys are. I want to say thank you to you, Victoria, Diane. I'm pointing to where you guys are on the screen, by the way. Emma, Gabriel. Thank you guys so much. This has just been a unique and fun opportunity to speak to you guys. If you guys think of other things that we can do like this, I mean, I know you guys may not like doing stuff like this all the time. But as an old person, I really like speaking to students and having an opportunity to kind of engage with folks who are going to be the people who hopefully will take over the world and make it a better place for me as an old person. Like once I'm really old, I want to live in a place that you guys are stewarding. So But thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that discussion with the MIT students. I found some interesting things that I did not know about their school. It was very exciting to learn about the maker studios that they have and other things that I think a lot of campuses would benefit from. I also was surprised about how they are making accommodations considering that they're doing everything remotely. And I want to thank the 4 MIT students again today who participated in this discussion. Emma Chaban, Victoria DeZekiel, Diane Batres, and Gabriel Barrett. I really appreciated you contributing to my channel and telling us how your first year at MIT was based on non-COVID and COVID responses. And also, I wanted to thank you again for sharing your stories with the folks on YouTube, because I think students that are looking to go to school in the fall and that have been accepted, they have no idea what to expect. And I think every little bit of information about what the college experience may be like at MIT, especially during these times, may be helpful. So thank you again. Please subscribe, like below. Please hit the notification bell so you can know when my next videos are coming out. And also, please hit the like button for the algorithm. I'm going to try to do more interviews with maybe more students, local artists, things like that. We are trying to really do things differently in this digital space that we're now working in based on the pandemic times. But I thank you for rocking with me. I hope to catch up with you next time. And again, thank you for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. So with that, I'm out.
Subscribe right below.